Let's talk to God. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk to God. Woo!
Good evening, everybody. Hey, it's Cutler here on the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast, the Let's Talk to Cutler platform, the Let's Talk to Cutler vlog, or whatever we call it. It's Cutler, and I'm glad to be here. Hey, it's already the 15th of February, and happy day after Valentine's Day to all of you. I hope that you are remembering that this is, we look at it as the love month, but it's certainly Healthy Heart Month. Don't forget that it's Healthy Heart Month. It is Black History Month, and so we want to make sure that we observe all the things that we can about this month. But speaking of your heart, take care of yourself. Make sure that you go and get your those examinations that you need to get so that you can take care of yourself. All right. Listen, I am so thankful for you all just joining and tuning in, and everybody hopping in and saying, let's ride, let's ride, let's ride, let's ride, let's ride. This channel is about motivation. I love getting together. I love chatting with you all. I love seeing the comments and the feedback from you all, because this is about motivation. It's about inspiration. It's about taking the time to see how can we as a community show up a little bit better tomorrow than we did today. It doesn't mean that today was a flop. It doesn't mean that at all. It doesn't mean that today went bad. It doesn't mean that today was a failure. It just means that we're pausing, we're stepping back, and we're saying, how can I use some of the lessons that I learned from today to make me a better person tomorrow? Because it's all about improvement. It's all about evolution. It's all about reaching some place tomorrow that I didn't quite reach today. Right? That's what life is all about. Life is cyclical and it is dynamic. So if this is your first time, do me a favor. Just slam on the brakes, slam on the brakes, and pull on into this station for about 1,800 seconds. That's all. Just pull on into this station for about 1,800 seconds, and I'm going to see if I can just offer something that will renew us and something that will strengthen us. Angie, I see your comment. So we're going to talk about it. But again, thank you all so much. Those of you who have been with me for the long haul, those of you who are joining, I appreciate all of you. Do me a favor. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And then click on the notification bell, because it lets you know whenever I've gone live and whenever I've uploaded new content. All right. And then as you're coming into the chat, do me another favor. Go ahead and do a thumbs up on the conversation. Come on into the chat room so I can see you and talk back to me. Talk back to me if you don't mind. And it lets me see that you are encouraged by the conversation. It also says to YouTube, I kind of like the stuff that the guy's talking about over there. I have to give a special shout out. To T Cutler. You all probably saw me the last time we chatted. I had on a throwback sweatshirt from an old sitcom from when I was much younger, and A Different World. And so I had on that sweatshirt with the throwback then. And I'm wearing another sweatshirt, the compliments of T Cutler. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. It says HBCU grad. And let me just, can y'all see that? HBCU grad, Howard University. Yeah, my first degree came from Howard, and I'm a proud HBCU graduate. All right, historically black colleges and universities. Listen, let me shout out the LTTC VIPs. Those are the Let's Talk to Cutler, very important person. And of course, they change every time you all show up. But it's just the people who jump into the chat and start chatting with me at first. And I need to shout you all out. Let's see. And I'm just show your name and show the people who you are. T Cutler says, happy Tuesday, everyone. Let's ride. That's right, because we're riding down the highway of life looking for a space that's called better. Annie Cutler, I love you so much. It's always good to see you. You know that. Let's ride. You are my really driver, and not just you're my driver and not just the passenger, but that's all right. As I've grown up, I guess we've exchanged the passenger seat and the driver's seat from time to time, but you are my number one passenger. You know that. All right. And Angie says, good evening, all. The plantation kicked my tail last week. Well, Angie, I tell you what. Let's see if we can offer some salve and soothing stuff so that we feel a little bit better. after our conversation tonight. You all know we're reading from this book right here. This is my sixth book number 6. When I Am Overwhelmed, How to Handle Life at Its Most Intense Moments. And we know that we've been dealing with some very, very intense moments. The things that seem to sometimes consume us, the things that would pull us down, the things that would overwhelm us, the thing that would take us under, the thing that would prevent us from reaching success, the thing that would prevent us from obtaining victory, the thing that would cause us not to get to a space that's called better. Those are the things that come to overwhelm us. They come to drown us and really to just pull us down and to suck the energy and the hope and the peace out of our lives. But we as a community, we're talking about how to handle those things. How do we handle those moments? And sometimes when we find ourselves in those moments, how do we get out of those moments? And then it's just not about us getting out of the moment, you all, but it's about us having the stamina to reach back and pull somebody else. Pull them out, pull them through, push them over to help them get out of those moments. It's what good does it do us to learn the lesson and never teach or share with anybody else? So that's why we come together for these moments. All right, you all know the last time we talked about balancing and filtering. If you want the book, run on over to Amazon.com and get it, all right? Run it over to Amazon.com and get the book. But we talked about balancing and filtering. So you all, let me tell you what I did. Before we came on tonight, I said, let me just run and get a filter because I have to remind them. We're going to talk about changing the filters, all right? So just like you change filters in your house, you got to change the filters in your life and you have to clean the filters. You all know we've been in this pandemic for 2 years now, right? What good would it do? Some of us have these masks, but you have to change the filter. Can you imagine just keeping this mask on and this old filter for 2 years? What good would that do? It would be a hot mess. It would just be a mess. But we don't want to do that, because guess what we are doing, y'all, when we don't change the filter, and I'm going to pick up with it because we're on page 55. But if we don't engage ourselves with balancing and filtering and changing the filter, guess what, you all? It's like looking through. We get so used, those of us who sometimes wear glasses, we get so used to looking through dirty lenses. And we get used to breathing in pollutants. And we say it's a small matter and it doesn't matter. But all of a sudden you keep saying it doesn't matter and it's a small matter until the next thing you know, you can't see. Well, the next thing you know, you can't breathe. And so that is why it is important in our lives to make sure that we change and we clean the filters of our lives. Because just as this chapter is talked about, you all know the truth of the matter is this. I'm going to start reading from page 55. But you all know the truth of the matter is this. One of the reasons we need to balance and filter is because if we don't filter, we end with it's garbage in, garbage out. Garbage in, garbage out. And sometimes, let me see if I can go on to page 55 and somewhere in the middle of that paragraph. But this is the truth, you all. Sometimes the fruit of our lives is rotten. The byproduct stinks. And the outcome is contaminated. Why? Because the input was contaminated in the first place. So we are trying to produce healthy results and healthy things and good things and wholesome things. But what happened, the reason it doesn't come out like that and the reason we're sometimes overwhelmed with what we are producing is because the input was contaminated in the first place. Many times we know that it wasn't a good idea. We know it wasn't a good idea, but we still tried it anyway. We tried it anyhow. And as we knew that the outcome wasn't going to be good because the input was not good. Garbage in, garbage out. We knew that to start with. And it is like that with things. We know many times, I just want to be transparent and say there are many times when I knew that the thing that I wanted to pursue wasn't a good idea. And I would just hope for the best. You know, sometimes we do things and we say, well, I'm just going to hope for the best. But we can't live like that. Not when we are intentional. Not when we are intentional about becoming better. When we are intentional about becoming better, we make sure that the input in our lives is as clean and as wholesome as it can be. I know people who have gone through things and who have pursued things. They knew it was not a good idea in the first place. Listen, you cannot engage in underhanded and shady dealings, but then expect the outcome to be wholesome. You just can't. I've seen people who engage in things like scheming and lying and cheating and trying to get over, and they just gamble with their lives. But one of the things that I don't gamble with is my future. I don't gamble with my future. So I don't engage in underhanded dealing and shady practices and then try to expect a wholesome outcome. I don't do that. I don't give way to schemes and lying and cheating and just hope that it's going to turn out right. No, don't gamble with your future. Put in the work. That's why we meet here every Tuesday and every Thursday, and we talk about sometimes doing the hard work. You all know I have offered challenges. I have offered motivations. I have offered admonitions. In the midst of inspiration, in the midst of motivation, there are some challenges that we have to undergo. We have to challenge ourselves so many times that if I'm going to find this space that's called better, if I'm going to respond to better that's calling me, there's some times that I have to do the work. And Cutler, it's not always easy. No, I grant you that. I know it's not always easy, but that's why we meet as a community, to remind ourselves that we do have the wherewithal to make it. Don't gamble with your future. But what are we going to do? We're going to be, I love it, we're going to be intentional about not failing. We've got to change, we have got to change our filters. Either we've got to change them or clean them. And I'm talking about the filters of our lives. Cutler, so if you're talking about that, what are the filters of our lives? You know what? I'm you all are going to make me sound like a preacher. I'm so glad you asked me. Some of the filters of our lives are our very sensory perceptors. Think about it, our eyes. There's sometimes we look at things, we look at people, we look at situations, we see them, and we know that they're not good for us. That's not a good route to take. That's not a good way to go. So many times it is our common sense, not our common sense, but our five senses, our sensory perceptions. We see things and sometimes know that off. Your eyes can be your filter, your ears can be a filter. And it's not necessarily we can change these, but we can clean them so that our perception is a little bit better. You know, many times when we get rid of the noise, when we get rid of the distractions, then that means we are able to focus and we're able to perceive, because we can see things and know that they're not right. We can look at them and reason and rationalize and say, no, that's not right. I got a clean filter. I'm good. Life has taught me this. Life has taught me that when I see that, I go the other way. I have to look all around. That's right, Andrew. We cannot use tunnel vision. I just can't see that and be so focused on that until I miss what's going on over there. Use all of your vision. Peripheral vision, all of it. The ability to see through a wide lens. And no, there are some options. That's a way that I can take, but not that way over there. You've got a lens. Your ear is a lens. Sometimes we hear and we need to tune in and really listen to what's going on. Listen to what you're hearing. See what you're looking at. Those are filters. And then sometimes may I share with you that many times we have an internal filter that's called intuition. Some people call it, sixth sense or something like that. And we call it common sense. So you got your five senses, your ability to see and hear and taste and touch and smell, all of those are your five senses. But then there's something that we call common sense. It is your intuition. Intuition. Your intuition is the ability to make an immediate decision without having to go through this long conscious reasoning. It's intuitive to you. You intuitively and instinctively know that that's not what I need to do. That's not what I need to say. That's not where I need to go. That is called intuition. That is called intuition, and you need to pay attention to it. You need to pay attention to that, because that is a gift given by the Creator. That is why I just need to say this. That is why mothers can know their children. Mothers can know from afar many times what's going on. It's sometimes called mother's wit, as a matter of fact. But don't thank you. High Vibe says, don't never underestimate the power of intuition, especially women. You all that is right. Intuition is something that you instinctively have, something that you instinctively know, and it means that you know immediately. You don't have to go through a long discourse of rationalizing and reasoning, trying to figure out the answer. You know immediately. You knew he wasn't no good. Y'all know I'm from the country, so you knew he wasn't no good. You knew what your children were doing. What those children of mine doing? That ain't right. Many times we know. And some of the things that we process, no. Think about a lot of the scams, especially now that we are here in this, in this pandemic mode, and people they know that we're using technology and social media more and more these days, so they're trying to scheme and scam and get over on people. And they're disguising themselves as people who are connected to us through social media. They are disguising themselves as family members of ours, and they show up and they'll send you a message, and the next thing you know, they'll reveal themselves. But sometimes when they reveal themselves, by the time they reveal themselves, we're hooked on the scam. So we've got to. I'm telling you all. Situations and circumstances we know meant us no good, and we still say, no, I think I can handle this. I might make my way on through this because I think I can handle it. No, absolutely not. Not when better is beckoning me, not when better is calling me. I don't have time to waste. I don't have circumstances to try to navigate and hurdles to jump if I don't have to. I don't have unnecessary mountains to climb or unnecessary valleys that I have to tunnel through. Not when better is calling me. When better is calling me, there's some things that I need to avoid at all costs if I can, because I want to get to better as quickly as possible. So what are we going to do? We're going to clean our filters. We're going to clean our filters. And what I'm going to share with you is this, you all. I wrote it here in the book. Don't beat yourself. And y'all know I only got 1,800 seconds, and I'm on a roll, just going. But I want to encourage us. One of the reasons we sometimes become overwhelmed, you all, is because we don't step back and take advantage of the filters that we have. We have allowed some stuff and some things and some situations and some people to come into our lives who never meant us any good in the first place. And we talked about doing a people inventory. We talked about doing that some time ago. And the truth of the matter is that ought to be an ongoing exercise. Evaluate the role that people play in your life. Some people, the only role they need to play is that of a spectator. You sit on the outskirts of my life. You are not an active participant. Because sometimes we have allowed things and circumstances and people to come into our lives because guess what? We didn't have our filter clean. We didn't hold up a clean filter. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes, and we knew the filter. We didn't change the filter. We got used to breathing in the pollutants. We got used to looking through a dirty lens, and we were okay with that. But clean up, detox your life, all of that stuff, so that our filters are clean. And here is one thing, something else that I have to say to us all, because guess what? You all know one of my books is we don't always get it right the first time. So I'm not here to beat any of us up, but I'm here to encourage us to springboard from the lessons that we have learned. Let's springboard from the lessons that we have learned. I am yet learning some of those lessons. Some of those I think I've pretty much mastered them. But there's some that I'm still learning from. I'm still springboarding from those. Why? Because I want to make sure, because high vibe, my friend, here's one of the things that I know. Even with these masks on that we are wearing, we don't change the filter, some of us, as often as we should, because we are okay with taking a chance and saying, it's okay, I'll breathe in a few of the pollutants. And then the next thing you know, your lung is filled with stuff that it shouldn't have in it. Your body is filled with contaminants. That happens in our lives, in our proverbial lives, because we've lived with the pollutants. We've breathed them in. We've inhaled them, all of this stuff. But guess what, you all? If by chance you have allowed garbage in, I want to lift us up. Don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up, because again, in the book, one of the things that I wrote was that the next question then becomes, what now? Since I cannot go back in time and undo what I should have done, what now? My response is, and I wrote it in the next paragraph at the bottom of page 55, the simple answer to what now is this: start today. Wherever you are, start today. Start using the filters that are already in place. Your intuition, your ability to hear and listen and perceive and reason. Use all of that. We sometimes in the faith in the faith-based arena, we call it discernment. It is all of that. But don't beat yourself up for some of the things that got through your filter, and some of the people that got into your lives, and some of the circumstances and situations that made its way into our lives. Don't beat yourself up for that, for having failed a lesson. Can I be very candid? Let's not beat ourselves up for having failed a lesson in life, because we all have failed at something. But the beauty of creation and the beauty of God's grace and the beauty of living in this world is that things come in cycles. And one of the things I've offered people in conversation is this: that I believe that the same place where you fail today could be the place where you flourish tomorrow. I almost had to grab the sides of my chair when I said that. I don't beat myself up for failing, because we all fail at something. And sometimes we become overwhelmed because we realize I failed and there is no way out and there's no good after this. But hang on, you all. We all fail at something, one way or another. Live long enough, you're going to fail at something. But I truly believe that where you fail today could be the same place where you flourish tomorrow. I believe it. I believe that because, listen, there's a story that is told of fishermen who said, we fished all night long, and they were instructed to cast your net in the same place where you work, the same place where you travail, the same place where you didn't seem to have success. Cast your net in the same water. And when you cast your net in the same water with clarity and with discernment and with vision, your nets will be filled. Same place where you fail can also be the same place where you flourish. Don't beat yourself up because your filter wasn't in place the first go round. So I'm not here to beat anybody up, but I say start today. Get up and start today. You all are making me go here. Get up and start today. Another story is told of 4 men who had leprosy. And they sat outside of the city walls. They sat at the gate and they said, why are we just going to sit here and die? If we go inside the city, there's a famine that's there. We already have this disease and they've kicked us out. So if we sit here, we're going to die. If we go in the city, a famine is going on, we're going to die. Let's get up now. Let's start today. Let's do something. And their change came when they stood up, started today, and said, let's do something, because where we are now, there's got to be a place that's better than this. And where we are now, those of us who find ourselves in these overwhelming situations, there's a place that's better than this. And I'm just here to encourage us. Start now, because you all, guess what? Guess what? Crying, snotting, having a pity party. Sometimes it's good to cry because we give our emotions a voice. I give you all that. But I'm talking about sulking. When we just cry and sulk and do what we say in the country, just wild. We don't even say wallow. We say wallow. No, not in the mud. Get up. Don't sing woe is me all of your life. Because not woe is me, but victorious is me, successful is me, powerful is me, overcomer is me, better is me, stronger is me, greater is me. Why? Because greater is in me. I'm not going to beat myself up because I didn't get it right then, but thank God for the ability to start now, to get up and start now. So I'm not going to cry and stay there, but I'm going to turn on the filters. I'm going to change them. I'm going to clean them. And the next time, I'll read more. I promise you, I'll read more the next time. But before we talked about balancing and filtering. And so tonight I wanted to focus on changing the filters. But I want to talk about, can I talk a little bit more? Because when I get to it the next time, we're going to talk about moving negativity out. We're going to talk about moving negativity out. And we're going to springboard from our conversation about balancing and filtering, because one of the things that I do know is this, you all, sometimes we're trying to balance stuff in our lives that was not supposed to be there in the first place. Woo! Sometimes we are overwhelmed because we're trying, I'm trying to balance, but it's still not coming out right. That is because many times we are trying to balance stuff that had no business in our lives to start with. And so as we try to strike the balance, let's make sure we move negativity out at first. Let's make sure that we move the negativity out. I'm full with props tonight. I don't know why, but I thought I would get to it, but I didn't. So I'm just going to give you all the precursor to a part of our conversation, because we're going to talk about moving negativity out. Yes. Before you try to strike a balance with the things that are inside of your life, move the negativity out and then balance the things in your life that should be in your life. Water and oil will never mix. Can you all see this? I hope you can. I'm going to put it right here. Looking at the container, looking at what's contained in this bottle, it's water and oil. And sometimes this is a proverb of our lives. Sometimes everything looks clear. It looks the same. It looks like everything is all right. But when life shakes us up, when life shakes us up, that's when things will show their true colors. The water and the oil will never mix. And we're trying to balance things. We're trying to balance stuff that was never intended to be there. And so now what you can see is that the water and the oil is going to separate. We have stuff in our lives, we're just moving right along. Now y'all see the oil and the water separating. Because many times in our lives, we're just moving right along because from a distance, everything looks the same. Everything looks the same from a distance. But life comes and life will shake us up, and then the things that had no business in our lives will show themselves. And then we have to step back and say, that's what's going on. Before I can get the balance, there's some things that I need to move out. The next time we talk, my friends, my fellow passengers, we're going to talk about moving negativity out. How do we handle some of those intense moments? Move the negativity out. And when we move the negativity out, we have more room and more space for positive things. We have room for the destiny that's calling us. We have room for the purpose that is driving us. We have room for the victory that is ours. We have room for success that is calling us. We have room for the goodness and the wholesomeness that belongs to us. So the next time we chat, we're going to talk about moving negativity out. And I'll try. Sometimes I tell people I just get excited. I'm not yelling. I'm just excited. And I'm motivated about motivating my fellow friends and fellow passengers and people in my community. And that is all us. All of us. We are a community of winners. And may I suggest to you this as I get ready to go, as we are ending the broadcast. One of the things when we talk about filters, never underestimate the power of a good friend in your life, a good friend, because many times our judgment is so clouded, our vision is so distracted, and we sometimes are so overwhelmed and we are so consumed with life until we can't filter because we can't filter. We can't filter because we don't filter because we can't filter. And so never underestimate the power of a faithful, true friend in your life. That is one of our greatest filters. You all listen, do me a favor. Let's keep building community. Let's maintain connectivity. It's helping me. It is helping me. Let's maintain connectivity. Y'all stay safe, stay sane. Keep your heads up. Keep your hopes up. Tell people, go and get that man's book. And then come on and let's talk to Cutler. And if they say why, you all tell them this. Tell them that he said, I'm just trying to help save your life. All right, listen, good night, everybody. Please know this, that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. Good night, everybody.